And now we're joined, I'm delighted to say, by Peter Cardwell, talk presenter and, of course, political commentator, to find out what has happened in PMQs. Usual rules apply. We only do the highlights. He watches it, so we don't have to. Everyone else seems to take it all live, and frankly, usually quite a snooze fest for quite a long time. First question, were there any highlights?
I think there were today.
Right, well, then carry on. We won't throw you out the studio.
I think Kemi Badenoch was pretty punchy, but Keir Starmer was pretty punchy in response as well, and a number of people saying, actually, on what basis is she questioning him? She questioned him and his record on immigration. He then said, hold on a second, you were the business secretary, you wanted a cap lifted, what about the last 14 years of Conservatives and their record on immigration? This is going to
come back to haunt her, isn't it? This is something she said a while ago. She was welcoming the cap on migration.
Yes, because as business secretary she didn't want one. So interestingly, the clips are sort of slightly longer today. Don't kill me, Julia, but nonetheless...
Very strict about how long we're willing to listen to these people.
Just over a minute on both, and I think it's worth...
Blame him.
It's worth listening to. She mentioned in the first clip I'm going to show you about a specific criminal conviction about someone that Keir Starmer, in Kemi Badenoch's view, would want to keep in the UK.
Right,
it was pretty punchy.
Let's have a watch and a listen.
4 years ago, the Prime Minister signed a letter demanding that foreign criminals be allowed to stay in Britain. Dozens of Labour and Liberal Democrat MPs repeatedly signed these letters insisting that rapists and murderers be allowed to stay here. One of those criminals, Ernesto Elliott, had 17 convictions, including for knife crime. After his deportation was blocked, Elliott went on to murder someone. He was able to stay here and murder because people like this man campaigned against deporting criminals. Will he apologise for signing these letters?
Mr. Speaker, I'd firstly remind her that when we're in the number now, under their watch, of migrants coming to this country, nearly 1 million, is over 4 times the number when we're in the EU. They lost control of the borders. And the particular example she puts to me is an example of failure under her government to take the necessary measures to keep our country safe.
I think we're all just surprised to see Keir Starmer in the country. He's normally on a private jet somewhere.
Never hear Keir.
Never hear Keir.
You've not heard that one?
No, free gear Keir. We had two-tier
Keir. Never hear Keir.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, someone did a calculation of how much time he's actually spent on a plane.
Yeah, months. He's basically been away. He's been away for a month of the 5 months he's been in office. But the thing about this exchange between Starmer and Badenoch is actually they're kind of both able to throw some mud at each other. But this ties into the whole view, and I know a lot of our audience feel this way, a lot of our guests as well. They're all as bad as each other. They all talk a good game, but they never actually do anything.
And she was talking again a little bit later in their exchange about backing criminals over law-abiding British people. There was a lot of back and forward on that. A little bit about Assad as well. She was saying, will Keir Starmer take the side of the British people and strip citizenship from jihadi terrorists and supporters of Assad? Yeah. This was quite punchy as well, a little bit later on in their exchange.
OK, well, let's have a watch and a listen to this exchange.
The Prime Minister has consistently backed criminals over law-abiding British people. He defended terrorists like Hizb ut-Tahrir in the European Court. He argued all immigration law had a racist undercurrent. He voted against life sentences for people smugglers. He voted against more than 100 measures to control migration. He even said it was wrong. He even said, Mr. Speaker, that it was wrong when the Conservatives took away Shamima Begum's citizenship. Now he has appointed her defence lawyer as his Attorney General. Mr. Speaker, events in Syria mean we may see more small boat arrivals. For once, will he take the side of the British people and strip citizenship from jihadi terrorists and supporters of Assad who want to come back and destroy this country?
Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker, I was Director of Public Prosecution for 5 years. Unlike anyone on their benches, I was prosecuting for 5 years hundreds of thousands of criminals. That includes huge terrorist gangs, rapists. I was working for 3 of those 5 years with the then Home Secretary Theresa May, who commended the work that I did at the end of those 5 years.
Keir Starmer was Director of Public Prosecutions.
Hold on, what?
He never mentions it.
No.
I mean, does anyone know what his father did for a living as well?
I heard, actually, there's a rumour, can't confirm this, but I heard the father might have made tools in some way. that?
Maybe. I mean,
Did you hear that?
Who knows? Who knows?
Did you hear that,
I mean,
Bradley?
look, this is an interesting exchange. You said they're quite fiery. It's got quite personal. It's like you did this, you did. They're hitting back at each other. But does this not just play into the whole?
Of course it does. Of course it does.
Feeling that most people feel that.
And she said as well, we've acknowledged where things went wrong. We've seen the Conservative sort of semi-apology over immigration previously. But you're absolutely right. It's saying, well, you made mistakes. And when she talks about his record in immigration, well, actually, he wasn't in government for the last 14 years. She kind of was. So it's tricky ground for Kemi Badenoch.
Yeah.
It was
and
punchy.
she was a senior member of the government as well.
And a
Benedict Spence, I mean, do you think this stuff is going to have any traction?
I don't think it is, no. I'm sorry, I'm still slightly bemused by the idea of him being director of public prosecutor in the same room as Theresa May for 3 years. I don't know if it's possible to die of a boredom-induced aneurysm, but that is possibly the dullest possible sort of combination of people that you can... Honestly, just...
Do you want to come to the office Christmas party? I'm washing my hair that night. We haven't told you when it is. No, but I'm definitely washing my hair that night.
I tell you what, though, if the COVID had happened on their watch and they'd invited people around for a party in number 10, nobody would have turned up. We'd have never been in this situation.
That's the truth. What about what's been going on outside Westminster today? Of course, we've got farmers' protests. We spoke to one of the farmers leading the protest. Huge number of tractors. Last time around, they said, just a couple of tractors. We're not going to block the roads. This time around, hundreds of tractors, hundreds of farmers. Really big, really noisy, big affair. They want to... They ain't going away. They're being noisy. They want people to pay attention. Was there any mention of this, any acknowledgement of this in the actual chamber?
Yeah, a couple of MPs, including Sir Ed Davey, the leader of the Liberal Democrats, talking about this. He criticised both the Conservatives and Labour in terms of how they've treated farmers over the years. And certainly in regard to this protest today, there was definitely... I mean, I heard people inside, I was messaging some people inside the House of Commons saying they could actually hear, the horns being beeped and all the rest of it.
Yeah, when you see people checking their phones in PMQs, it's because they're answering messages from Peter. It's his fault.
Yeah, so the protest is live, it's there, and certainly their voice is being heard. It did come up in Prime Minister's questions, but not nearly to the same degree as it did with the previous protest a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, indeed, but again, and yet it's a bigger protest. I mean, how much damage do you think that's doing? Because we've got, so much ill feeling towards the Prime Minister and the Chancellor at the moment, with that big reset, relaunch speech that wasn't last week. By the way, forgotten by everybody already. Milestones. We're just mocking them for milestones and foundations and all that.
Nobody knows what any of them are.
No one knows any of them are. I don't think they know what any of them are. But this big speech, it's just all forgotten, and then he sods off to the Middle East, kowtows with people who... there he is inviting the Saudi...
Mohammed bin Salman.
The man who orders the murder and dismemberment of a journalist. Oh, come and watch a football match.
Yeah, come and see Arsenal.
He really just... The man, again, no morality. I don't care how much money these people have got. They're crooks. And this is the thing. So we kind of forget all that. There's just so little good feeling towards this government. You've got the diehards. We spoke to Paul Richards earlier, former Labour Special Advisor, really, coming down. But they're even upsetting, the public service union people. They've got the farmers.
He's had to apologise to
anyone
civil
who knows
service.
Anyone on...
He's had to apologise to civil service in the last few days for saying they, were sitting in a tepid bath of mediocrity or whatever it was.
Which they are.
And also the fact that, in his own party, look at the poll ratings. We've had, it was only one poll over the weekend, but you had the Conservatives first, Reform UK second, Labour third. Like, that is really good. 5 months into an administration.
Yeah, you should be riding high, absolutely riding high for these first months. What do you make of, particularly about what's going on with Reform? Because we had Reform UK, they've been announcing various defections of various people. Some of them, just sort of people that you and I would know well, but not necessarily sort of household names or former MPs like Andrew Jenkins. But we've also got, crucially, defection of a big Tory donor, Nick Candy.
That's right.
He's a very rich man.
Lots of money.
He's got a lot of money. He says he's going to be giving, seven-figure sums. So we're talking million plus. We also had, he's been messaging with Elon Musk. Yeah. Elon Musk asking, when's the next electoral thing? Now, you can't have foreign donors can't give money, but they can through a British company.
That's right. Like Twitter, for example, or X or whatever it's called.
So Elon Musk could legally give money to Reform. What do you make of that? Is that a game changer?
It's really significant. I think £1 million is a very, very big donation, certainly in the scheme of things. Political parties in this country don't get nearly as much as American political parties, but £1 million, someone like Nick Candy, self-made billionaire, and the fact that he has, brought in, he says, perhaps at 3 times that already, a target of about 40 million. With Elon Musk, there's a rumour, of course, he's certainly taken an interest in what Nigel Farage and what Reform are doing. This is significant, and money does talk in every part of politics, but certainly in British politics as well. It takes time to organise. We heard a lot of that from Nigel Farage at the conference in Birmingham previously, saying they want that sort of grassroots organisation as well. But Nick Candy, it'll be interesting to see how much he is perhaps a thorn in the side as well. He's talked about James McMahon Murdoch and his conviction for assault as well. That's something
That's
he's
one
got
of
to
the
be
four
happy
MPs.
about.
He was the fifth MP who no one kind of expected and no one had met.
Exactly.
Who ended up getting elected.
He'd gone to his own count with his mother and father. There was no one else there. He didn't expect to be there at all. But Nick Candy, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see as well. Nigel Farage is the big character of reform. So far, they've kept it together. But you've got, you know, three big characters. Rupert Lowe, not a small character either, in Lee Anderson, Nigel Farage and Richard Tice.
Yeah.
Now you've got Nick Candy in as well. He will have a lot of things to say, as will his wife, the former Neighbours actress, Holly Valance. I did once ask to interview her, actually, but she said she'd give it a miss. He got it.
I've got no idea what you're talking about.
Her song was called Kiss Kiss.
I mean, anyone?
Can't remember
right.
Well, we enjoyed it.
No.
Were you not a teenage boy in the 2000s?
No, apparently not. No, I'm literally got... I love the fact you're both chuckling away.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Thank you, thank you.
Great gag. I didn't get it. Do message in if you did. Anyway, now, just before we go, but you're not convinced by this, are you, Benedict? You're not convinced that
What about
Nigel
the song
Farage... No, I'm not convinced by the joke, definitely.
Go on, boy.
But in terms of... I've lost control. Shall I just give
It
up?
always happens. I'm not
They always
convinced.
know when I'm ill and I'm under the weather and they really want to, you know, they take
The lunatics
advantage.
take control of the asylum. Yeah. I'm not convinced, but I understand there's a lot of momentum behind reform, and I understand why that is, because people are furious with the Conservative Party. But actually, you know...
And the Labour Party.
Well, they are, absolutely, as they should be. But, you know, the Tories are still the ones that are leading in the polls, just about. This is a new administration leading it. And, of course, if it turns out that Kemi Badenoch is not that good, well, they can always just have another leadership contest. Reform actually can't really do that.
There's kind of only Nigel.
Yeah, that's kind of it. Whereas you could get Robert Jenrick or somebody else. Now, I'm not saying that those are great options, but the options exist.
Okay, very interesting. Oh, right, well, you two could just go and, you know, get your Spotify out, listen to Holly Valance.
Oh, we
songs.
will.
I mean, with all due respect to Holly, I'm sure she's lovely. I didn't know she'd had more than one song, or even indeed any songs. I'm not going to lie. But then, as you say, not a teenage boy in the 2000s.